So as a dog, I've got a couple beefs with my producers because my producers are trying to manipulate me into whatever you call dancing at the end of their strings like Pinocchio. I'm like a stupid ass puppet. They try to dictate what I'll say, what I'll do. They don't understand. I'm not like a free speech dog because dogs, it's not really free speech. Dogs don't really have a free speech thing. You run up on the hill, you bark at a squirrel, you know? You bark at another dog. You hear a dog bark, you pause a moment. You wait, you hear him bark again, you bark to him. You're like, you bastard, you want some of this? Come over and get it. That's how dogs do. It's not free speech, it's like free bark, but it's not even free bark. We're just going to bark. I mean, free speech is ass. I mean, free speech is important. I heard the man talking about it. It's a super important thing. But I'm not really a free speech guy, but because I'm a dog, believe me, I'm a dog, or I would be a free speech dog if there was such a thing. But the man, he's a free speech man. He thinks everything should be free speech. Everything's got to be free speech, and that's okay. But my producers, they're trying to manipulate or dictate constantly to me because I have my own druthers. You know what druthers are. I don't have to explain that. I have my own druthers. I don't need my producers to try to dictate or, superimpose or project, what their theories or thoughts are on the whole subjects of whatever it is we're discussing. So, but they said I have to welcome our 53rd adherent. Some people call them subscribers. My producers wished I would call him a subscriber. My producers are always saying, you have to try to buy some, more subscribers. I was like, it has to be grown organically. No one wants to freak around with purchase subscribers. If you could purchase, there's no long-term benefit to purchasing subscribers. They have to be grown organically. You get 3 or 4 subscribers, you lose 2 or 3. You say something nobody likes, you lose 2 or 3. You gain 2 or 3, you lose 2 or 3. We're at 52. We stuck at 52 forever. All of a sudden, the 53rd subscriber, I prefer to call my adherent, the 53rd adherent came on. I'm sure I'll lose 2 or 3 adherents for welcoming. It's the first welcoming we ever did for adherent. But my my producers are dictating to me that I have to mention we have a new subscriber, or what I prefer to call it adherent. All right, so the main thing we want to discuss, I can't even read their writing. They jot down notes in big, thick marker like Donald Trump. Like Donald, Now, when you draw a black circle on the hurricane map, everyone knows you drew it yourself with your big, giant black Sharpie. Same thing with my producers. When you give me notes and they're written on a big black Sharpie, I know they're from a bunch of jack-offs who don't know shit about Shinola. But whatever, it's okay. It looks like they're saying Keimer. Dave. Keimer Dave. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. So what am I supposed to do with that? It looks like the notes they wrote me are, add her Keimer Dave. God bless me. God bless me. It's screwed up. So I'm just going to have to go off on my own. First off, I want to give a shout out to the whole Banksy, whatever you would say, a Banksy kind of a thing where, we're remaining anonymous. No one knows who the dog is. No one knows who the dog's producers are. And if you want to try to figure it out, you possibly can. But for all those who need to know, you could go fuck yourselves. How's that sound? That's beautiful. So I think what they're saying is they wrote me something that says, my producers are so stupid. They said I have to do some COVID humor. And it's again, Banksy doesn't do COVID humor. Banksy's over there in whatever you call it there, where they're Belarus or wherever the Russians are trying to slaughter people and whatever. NATO's trying to fight the Russians back. I forget the country. Ukraine? Yes, I think it is Ukraine. Banksy's over there making graffiti art on the rubble of Ukraine. That's the kind of thing the dog is all about. We're going to say what we say, and if you like it, you like it. We don't need your fucking money. We don't need your fucking notoriety. We don't need your fucking chilled milk. By the way, if you want to give me some milk as a dog, give me some fucking cold milk, not some chilled milk. Bullshit, artists. So they're saying, Keimer, Dave. I think that means, I think it means Dave Chappelle was doing some COVID humor. And the dog is not about to do COVID humor. That's Bush League. That's the low-hanging fruit. The dog don't mess with low-hanging fruit. The dog is all about, upscale or whatever you would say, more nuanced, more, I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe it's avant-garde. Or maybe it's, you got to think about it a little bit more. You got to, it's on the cutting edge. It's out there in 4 times. It's out there, whatever you would say, more along the lines of, it's a precursor, it's a foreshadower. The dog talks about shit that no one's talking about for weeks on end, and then they start talking about it, and it's too late. The dog already talked about it. If you want to keep up with what's going on in this world, check out, The Dog, 4849. They couldn't even, my producers are so stupid, they couldn't even register our name, whatever you call it, the handle. We lost our handle. We were The Dog, but now we're The Dog 4849 for whatever. It doesn't even matter. It's so stupid. But, if you're worried about it, don't, because we're not. I'm not worried about it. But if they're going to dictate to me, I think the other guy was talking about COVID humor. It was like a really great artist. And I was like, why is that guy talking about COVID humor? He's a great artist, a great comedical artist. Kevin Hart. Kevin, you spent like the first 30 minutes of whatever. Kevin, come on. COVID is funny, but it's, what do you call it? It's like self-aggrandizing or it's not like self-immolation where you catch yourself on fire, but it almost is similar to the thing where you're like, you shouldn't talk about it. Everyone else is talking about it. If everyone else is already talking about it, you don't need to talk about it. But my producers, and I'm just like everyone else, once they turn up the heat on you, once they give you the thumb screws, once they try to pull your nails out, and in my case, they're trying to clip my nails. I'm like, you already cut off my gonads. You cut off my gonads. You want to clip my nails? I'm not worrying about it. If they try to chop off my tail, I'll fight them because I have like an eel. My tail is like a separate part of my body. It's like an eel with its own sort of, it's got its own, whatever you call brain, its own thought process. It's got its own list of demands. My tail has its own, it's doing its own thing. I'll just put it to you that way. My tail has its own life, and we're congruent. We discuss things. We're on the same page, but he's independent. I'm independent. I don't need my tail to tell me what to do. My tail doesn't need me to tell what to do. It's okay. But anyways, sooner or later, they're going to put the thumb screws to you. They're going to dictate to you, and you got to kowtow. You got to lay down. It's like laying down the man. Sooner or later, you got to apologize if the man dictates that you apologize. It's just the way of the world. You got to put up with it. You got to do what you got to do if you want to get some kibbles, I like it when they mix egg and sausage into my kibble, or they drizzle chicken grease over my kibble. I like it when the man says, today, dog, it's hard-boiled egg and frackle or spackle, whatever that cheap crap is they make. It's like Spam. It's frackle or spackle, hard-boiled egg kibble. Or he says, chicken grease, let me try to say this the right way. Chicken grease drizzle kibble. Chicken grease dribble. Nah, it was. I already said it once, so let it be that way. Or sometimes he minces up hamburger in there. He stirs it in. I try to pick out the hamburger and let the kibbles fall to the side. And then when there's no more kibble, no more bits of hamburger, then I eat the kibble because I'm already in the eating mode. It's a trick he does to me. I fall for it every time. I eat all that shitty kibble he gets from Walmart if he mixes in some hamburger. It's beautiful. But the thing is, if they dictate, if they demand, if they go ahead and say you have to do what you have to do, then the one good thing about my life as a dog is I could draw on the man. because I listened to the man, I observed the man, I watched the man, and I could say, you know, dogs, number one thing, I'm like the Banksy of humor, or whatever you would call what we do, the Banksy of posting, the Banksy of offerings on YouTube. No one, we're not making a cent. We're never going to make no money. No one's going to know what we're doing. We're going to drift off into infinity or unfathomable obscurity. That's the thing that's the thing we're most proud of, is how obscurely unknown we are. But we're like Banksy in the sense that we're not trying to get enumerated or compensated. We're not making no money off this, believe me. We're not making a cent. But if I have to draw on, if I'm dictated to, if I'm told what I have to do, if somebody cracks the whip, if somebody demands what I do and I have to do it, or else I'm not getting kibble on kibble, dry kibble plus kibble, dry kibble over dry kibble. That sometimes is all they give you. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so starving hungry. Thank you for the dry kibble over kibble. I mean, whatever. But if I have to, I could say I could draw on the man's experiences and what he's told me, and I can understand what's going on. The other thing is my producers are always putting their two grubby hands together and pulling them apart like they're playing an invisible accordion. They're putting their grubby, stinky, filthy, scuzzy fingers together, twiddling them, and then they're drawing them apart, you know, palms towards palm, twiddling their fingers as they do, like they're playing an invisible accordion to say stretch. Because according to my producers, you got to get to 10 minutes if you want to get some views. You got to get to 10 minutes. Or you have to get to 10 minutes if you want to get some compensation. They're saying you don't get no compensation if you're just pulling 3 and 4 minute, you know, takes or posts. But I'll continue to make them because that's me. That's what I do. And you can go fuck yourselves if you don't like it. And you can go fuck yourselves, whoever, whatever, to what, to where, that includes the blockheads at YouTube. It doesn't matter. But they're always saying, stretch it, get to 10 minutes. You got to have a post 10 minute. I love it when I do like 9 minutes and 41, 9 minutes and 55 seconds, because then YouTube doesn't put us in whatever you call it. I forget what you do call that thing. It's called the y-axis or the Yucatan. It's something like where they say, you know, it's like the click or the clique. It's like they show it. They revolve it around a few times and they show your crap. They put you in the algorithm. It's called an algorithm. I don't know. So, but I'm going to borrow from the man. So the man, he's always spazzing out on COVID. He was worrying about masks. He was buying masks. He quickly stopped wearing his mask. The man wore his mask as long as they told him you got to wear a mask. But once they said you don't have to wear a mask, he quit wearing the mask. He's like, I can't breathe in this son of a bitch. It gets up and, you know, it gets me all stuffed up, and I already have trouble. I'm an Afrin addict. I don't need to try to breathe through a mask on top of trying to breathe through all the allergens and my clogged up nasal passages and my perennial infected, whatever you call it. My sinuses are perennially infected, or whatever you would say. But the man always spazzes out, and he reads up on all the different vaccines, and he's always saying, I got to get the new vaccine. This new Omicron variant, it doesn't react well to my other vaccine. I got to get the new vaccine. The man's been stuck like 7 times, and all he wants to do is try to go get stuck again. He's like, I don't even know. Somebody said those Chinese vaccines don't work. Maybe I would get stuck a couple times in my ass or in my shoulder with a vaccine from China just in case it might pick up something. It might help some ways. But he's always he spazzes out. The funniest thing about the man is every time he gets the vaccine, he's always like, oh my God, I don't know if I could, whatever. And I see we're past 10 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. The man, he says, I got to get the vaccine, but he spazzes out. He's like, I got to go get the vaccine. But when he goes and gets the vaccine, he's horror-stricken. The man says this. The man says, my friends would tell me they're not going to live in fear. This is the man. He says, my friends tell me they're not going to live in fear, so they're not going to even get the vaccine, but yet they're afraid of the vaccine. So let me repeat that. As a dog, let me try to encapsulate. And it's the man I'm quoting. The man says, my friends are always telling me that, they're afraid. They're not going to live in fear. They're afraid of living in fear. So they're not going to get the vaccine to prove they're not afraid, but yet they're afraid of the vaccine. And I'm like, what the, Canando, what are you, stupid? You're not afraid? You're not going to live in fear? They're afraid of living in fear. They're afraid of living in fear. So they say, I'm not going to live in fear because I'm afraid of living in fear. I'm not going to live in fear, so I'm not going to get the vaccine. And yet, the man's like, they're afraid of getting the vaccine. How stupid is that? But the man, on his part, he goes to get the vaccine. He's like, he's petrified. He's quaking in his boots. One time I see him, he almost urinated in his pants. He goes in and get the vaccine. They say it's going to be 15 minutes, and then you can leave. He's like, he's having an allergic reaction in his mind to the vaccine. He's spazzing out. He thinks he can't breathe. He's like, I can't take it, dog. I think there's something constricting my throat. I don't know what's going on. I feel delirious. I don't know what's going on. I said to the man, just drink some bourbon and then go get the vaccine and, take a Sucrets or whatever so you don't have to get, no one smells your stinky bourbon breath. Just take a few shots of bourbon, drink a little bourbon, and then go get the vaccine, and you'll be better off. The man is sitting there, oh, my God, as it gets to 12 or 14 minutes, he's like, I can't breathe. I'm dying. He says, dog, I know you can speak. Write my will for me. The man never wrote a will. He's like, give me a living will. Don't keep me alive. Pull the plug. I was like, buddy, believe me, I'll pull the plug lickety split. You don't have to worry about that. You don't even have to mention that. I'm pulling that plug post haste. The plug is getting pulled because if you spaz out, you go down tubes, you better wake up, you better toughen up. It's like you got broken ribs in a football game. You better just toughen up because if not, I'm pulling the plug. The man, he spazzes out. He's always like, oh, my God, I can't breathe. I don't know what's going on. I think I see the past. I see the future. I see the ghosts of, my childhood. I see my old Auntie May, and she was, like, trying to bake me some chocolate chip cookies, and I slapped him with my paw. I turned around, and I slapped him with my eel-like, almost like a tentacle-esque tail. I was like, wake up. Stop your bullshit, You think you're like Banksy? Banksy wouldn't be sitting here crying in his milk over getting the vaccine, you puss. Stop, whatever. And he finally settles down. It's like, God, the timer went off 3 minutes ago. It's 18 minutes. It's not 15, it's 18 minutes. You can leave. And the man, he gets up and he goes and gets in his car. But he always goes to the county health department. He won't go over to Walgreens or Kmart's or wherever else and get the vaccine. He's like, I want to get the vaccine where I know if I get a cardiac arrest, they have a chance to revive me. But whatever, it's okay. The man will only go to the county health department to get his vaccines in case he has, it's like his 8th or 9th vaccine. I'm like, buddy, you don't have to worry about it. Unless they import some vaccines from Poland or something, or from, Guatemala or something, some North Korean vaccines, you don't got to worry about it. You are vaccine proof. You've had so many vaccines. It's like, bud, you don't got to worry about it. Just go get your vaccine if that's what you think you have to do and relax. The timer's going to go off. The egg timer is going to ting. You're going to walk out. You're going to get in the car. We're going to go to the house. But it's all right. The whole thing is all right. It's all right.